So when it comes to picking out a camera for making YouTube videos, you could go with a camcorder or like a mirrorless or DSLR camera like this. So what should you choose and what are the pros and cons of each of them? I'm gonna be talking about that in this video. Hey, what's up guys? Sean here with Think Media TV, helping you go further, faster in media. And on this channel, we do tech gear reviews and video gear reviews. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. Yannick asks, Sean, you say to get a DSLR for better quality over lower end video cameras. I've got a Canon VIXIA, which is a camcorder, and I also have a Canon Rebel T3i, which is a DSLR. Which would you recommend for YouTube videos? Thanks for the question, Yannick. So let's start with the camcorder. Now this is a Canon VIXIA that is pretty similar to your Canon VIXIA, I'm sure. And the great thing about camcorders is, number one, they're easy to use. And so pretty much all you have to do is turn them on, put them in auto mode and point them at whatever you want to shoot. And you don't have to worry about things being in focus. It just pretty much works. The second thing is that everything stays in focus, which is kind of a pro and in my opinion is also a con. One of the challenges about a DSLR and the awesome things is you can get that blurry background and that really incredible footage, but that also can be bad if things are out of focus. And so a pro of a camcorder is if you needed somebody that's say brand new to video and you wanted them to be able to get the shot and not have things be blurry or anything be wrong, a camcorder would be a good way to go. Another great benefit of camcorders is a lot of times they have microphone jacks so that you can do external audio sources, and not all DSLRs have those. And a lot of them have headphone jacks as well, and definitely not a lot of DSLRs have those. So if you want to have an external mic and really be able to monitor your audio easily, then camcorders are another good thing to look at. And then overall, they can get pretty expensive, but they can be very affordable. So if you're looking for a budget option for YouTube, camcorders are great to look at. Something like the Canon VIXIA, one of the R series, about $300. And if you bought some of the older models, you could be getting refurbished ones for around $100, $150. And so that becomes extremely affordable with a lot of features that are included in a camcorder. Another pro is the long record time. Camcorders are meant for video, and so if you needed to film like someone talking, a speech or something, and they were gonna do a seminar that was an hour of record time, or sometimes even longer, pretty much if you got the space on an SD card, it can go for almost no record time limit. And so that is nice. But now let's talk about some of the cons. The first one is they're typically not very wide, meaning if you wanted to vlog with it or something and I held the camera right here, it's gonna be all up in your face. Now you can get around that, and this is actually a wide angle lens that can screw onto a camcorder. Now there's a lot of these out there. Some of them are kind of cheap and you don't wanna cheap out on those, but that can help you get a little bit of a wider shot if you're using a camcorder. The biggest con probably is the image quality itself though. And so a lot of times camcorders, they can't even come close to the image that is produced by a DSLR. And so that's something to consider. If you just want some practical video, then a camcorder could be fine. But if you do want to tell stories, get that blurry background effect, really get, some dynamic, really high-end looking video, DSLRs are probably the way to go. And that's the last and biggest con is you pretty much cannot get depth of field with a camcorder, which again would mean like if the person is in focus and then the black background is really, blurry, or at night, you get what's called bokeh. And the background is, has the cool light circles and that soft look to it, all of that kind of stuff. You're gonna need a DSLR to get those kinds of effects. Okay, but now let's talk about DSLRs. And so for DSLRs, first there's the pros. And the biggest one is that you have a big sensor typically in a DSLR, a much larger sensor, which offers a lot of benefits. The sensor size inside of a camcorder is a lot of times smaller. And so the larger sensor does a couple things. Number one, it's better in low light. And so that's why the image a lot of times looks good overall, or looks a lot better, is that low light performance is far superior. If you don't have a lighting kit or anything going on, a big sensor helps that. The second thing is a large sensor helps you get that bokeh, that, nice blurry background. And then overall too, a bigger sensor just means better video, better pictures, better color, pretty much better everything, across the board as it pertains to the image quality. And that's why I loved shooting on DSLRs so much for YouTube. Another pro is that you get interchangeable lenses. And so this can also potentially be a con depending on your goals, because maybe you just want to be able to zoom in, zoom out, and have it all in one. But the nice thing about interchangeable lenses is that you have endless storytelling possibilities. When you start to get into lenses, especially if you want to make films, tell stories, every lens has a different vibe to it, a different feel to it. And so you have pretty much, again, unlimited customizability as it pertains to what your shots will look like because of interchangeable lenses. And speaking of customizability, another pro of DSLRs is that you can adjust so many different things. A lot of the nuances as far as what your image and your video is gonna look like, a lot more usually than on a camcorder. Now, this again might be something that you don't want because it comes with a little bit of a steeper learning curve, when it comes to a DSLR. However, if you've never seen my video of the best settings, especially for Canon DSLRs, I'll link that up and I'll put a description below, because you can learn it. It's not too terribly hard to learn. It just takes a little while to get used to getting all the settings right on a DSLR. And then the other thing that's really phenomenal about a DSLR is the fact that you also get to take great photos. And so, sometimes a lot of the camcorders do have a photo mode, but the images are not great. They're not that dynamic. And I really believe that every YouTuber should be taking a lot of photos, whether for thumbnails, whether for social media, whether just for anywhere else you want to post them online. And so you kind of get everything that you need in one package. You don't need to buy a photo camera and a video camera. You can shoot your video and your photos all in one. So that's a huge pro. Now, as far as the cons go, DSLRs can be a little bit more expensive. To be honest, it's pretty comparable across the board. You can find budget and cheap cameras in every category, and you can go to high end in either category. But definitely price is something to consider. We mentioned the steeper learning curve, so that's something that you might want to consider as far as a con. And then lastly, is that a lot of times DSLRs do have a record time limit. And so that's something to look into. How long can your camera record? We're shooting on a Canon 70D. And so at 30 minutes, the camera will stop recording, which again, if you're working on it, someone's shooting for you, it's not necessarily a huge deal. But if you were doing a 50-minute talk or something, there is going to be that gap that happens in the middle unless you have two angles or something like that. So again, it's something to consider. If you want a continuous, very long video file, a camcorder might be something that you need. And then as far as what DSLR is kind of in a similar price range, the Canon SL1 is something to check out. You have 1080p video, you get the interchangeable lenses, the great sensor, and you can pick one up with the kit lens for around $400 US refurbished. And so that comes pretty close to what your investment would be in something like a Canon VIXIA. And then the final thoughts as it pertains to price, again, it can be a con, because my biggest recommendation for if you're gonna create YouTube videos is having a DSLR that has really good autofocus. And so you could get like a Canon SL1 that's about $400 US refurbished, and you get a lens with it, and it's a great DSLR, but it doesn't have a flip screen, so you can't really see yourself, which I believe YouTubers kind of need. And it also doesn't have great like face tracking and autofocus. So I would recommend investing into at least like a Canon T6i, which is gonna cost $750 US, somewhere around there. And it's gonna be similar to this 60D here. You're gonna have great autofocus. It'll track your face so you can know you'll stay in focus. You can see yourself on the flip screen. But in that case, again, you're talking about double the price of what like a Canon VIXIA, one of the lower end ones, would be. And again, you get the flip screen. You're gonna stay in focus the whole time because everything's in focus. But now you're comparing the two different image qualities. And so definitely things to be considering as you're picking out your camera. And so as far as my final thoughts, I recommend using DSLRs and mirrorless cameras for YouTube the most. I don't think the record limit matters, because a lot of times you're shooting smaller clips, you're communicating like this, you're probably not gonna talk for 50 minutes straight, and if you are, you can just restart it, you're gonna edit it later. and the image quality and customizability is so incredible on a DSLR. I remember when the DSLR revolution happened back when the 5D Mark II came out and the Canon 7D, that was the first DSLR that I got, and people were just blown away because they produce images that are so much better than a camcorder and so much, more opportunities for storytelling with lenses at really an affordable price. And so that's why I lean towards DSLRs, mirrorless cameras, for making YouTube videos. The one thing that we still use camcorders for, and like for camcorders, is basically seminars. If you need to talk for 45 minutes, 50 minutes, you're filming a workshop, it's a lot more practical to put one of these on a camcorder and just shoot the whole session and you're good to go. And so I hope that helps you make a better decision for which camera you want to pick out going forward to build your YouTube channel. Question of the day, which camera do you prefer? DSLR and mirrorless cameras or camcorders when it comes to YouTube videos? Why do you like them? Why do you dislike them? What are the pros and cons in your opinion? Let me know in the comments section below. And remember that some of the best tips and feedback come from you, the Think Media TV community. So definitely connect with everybody in the comments section. So thanks so much for checking out this video. Definitely subscribe for more videos just like this. Hit the like button if this video was helpful. And if you haven't downloaded the Think Media TV Video Gear Buyer's Guide, I actually go through all of the cameras that I use for every budget, lighting, tripods, accessories. And so if you want to grab that for free, I'll link it up in the YouTube description below, as well as on the YouTube card. Until next time, Think Media TV is helping you go further, faster in media. Keep crushing it, and we will talk soon.